Hi. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jenna, and I am here with my incredible colleague Scott. And tonight we are going to be diving into our very first virtual Drams. And essentially, what this is we're all going to taste a whiskey together that we chose back at the beginning of the month for the February outturn. And actually, we didn't choose it; our members chose it. And we're going to just taste it together, dive in, talk about it. And just kind of relax and have a good time. So the bottle that we are going to be tasting tonight is cask 105.40, the Sweet Kiss of Complexity. And if you're new here and you're not really sure kind of why are our whiskeys called a name and not from what's going on here? So here at the Society, we really like to focus on what's inside the bottle, right? You can't see the color of the bottle. You don't have distillery names blasted across your labels. We really like to just focus on what's inside the bottle. And then after we've tasted it and decided, yeah, you know what, I really like this whiskey, then we can kind of talk about where it comes from, what kind of cask it was in, how old it is, all of that good stuff. And so instead of putting distillery names across our bottles, we use a coding system and give it a fun, cheeky name with some fun, cheeky tasting notes, which we'll be sure to read tonight. But yeah, so if you have this bottle, please, go grab it and pour yourself a dram. And Scott and I are going to dive in and get into it. You excited for this, Scott?
Yeah, let me put it out there. What we are taking 105.40. I guess you went over that. But yeah, we were kind of tossing around things like and we've had a lot of requests, a lot of members that say they want to be involved, or they want to do kind of, virtual Zoom sessions and do tastings, or can we mail out tasting kits, samples, all the stuff that we don't do. And so one thing that we kind of thought about and came up with to kind of get more people involved in is this right here. And it's choosing, one bottle each month, encouraging people to buy it, joining us, and then us kind of all sitting down and just going through together and nosing it, tasting it, adding water, rubbing it behind our ears, and all that stuff to see who's getting what. And real quick, just so everybody that is watching, if you can comment, and we know how many people, just comment yes if you have 105.40 and are tasting it with us tonight.
And I think this too is kind of a cool way to maybe get outside of your comfort zone. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And grab a whiskey that maybe you wouldn't, pick up regularly, or that would be kind of on your radar. And we'll talk a little bit about that too with this particular whiskey. But I think it's kind of a fun way to explore maybe, again, something outside of your whiskey comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've got just a little, I'm still kind of warming up my palate. I just had something. It's always good before an official tasting. I like to have a little whiskey. It's a little bit lighter, just a little bit, nothing pungent, nothing sherried, nothing fruity, huh?
Are you ill?
Not before I taste? No.
No, but I don't know. Like, I think your palate is just like, I must have sherry.
Well, yeah. Do I want sherry? Yes. Do I choose something without sherry? Yes. Yeah. Most of the time. And so, something lighter, 40%, 43, 45% ABV, especially as we start to dive into our, those single cask strength, options that haven't been watered down.
Yeah. And this one's high. This is a 66.2%. So I actually started with something a little bit higher on the ABV scale. Because of that, mine was 54.1%. And mine was just a little bit of 135.43. Because it's hard to not grab that when I come in this room. But
it's like 6-7 people have the bottle, or at least so far, that are sitting down with us. So
yeah. And if you don't have the bottle, that's cool too. Like, grab a whiskey of your choice, tea of your choice, Kool-Aid of your choice, whatever the case is, and sit down and just come hang out with us. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, you don't have to have this bottle, but if you do, that's kind of what this was designed for, and see what everybody gets. But real quick, let's go through a roll call, see who all's watching, who all's tuning in. Martin Fielder is here, George Kaplan, the Whiskey Franco, A.L. Biggs, which is usually
who?
Big Dog.
Who?
Oh, and Bird Dog is here as well. Big Dog and Bird Dog. Ryan Guzzi, Duke McHale, KLG 223, parentheses Kim. Hi, Kim. How you doing? Jason Jones. Andrew Hamaker, Jimmy Jazz, Multi Caskin. That's Charlie. He's here in Wichita. And Paul Anderson, Carl Zager, Large Woolly Bugger. Love that name.
I do too.
JT is Justin Taves. I talk to him on the phone occasionally. He calls in. I didn't realize last time, I think when we were doing the round table, he was tuning in. I just kept referring. I didn't realize that was Justin. Real quick, though, when I said reply yes if you've got the bottle, looks like Jimmy Jazz, the Whiskey Franco, Kim, Paul Anderson, Jason Jones, George Kaplan all have 105.40, so they'll be tasting along with us.
Nice.
But let's go ahead. And so
I think before we get into actually nosing and tasting it, I want to kind of address the label because it's natural for us. That's the first thing that we look at. So when we look at this label, we know that this is an 8-year-old whiskey. And again, if you're new here, you think, oh, an 8-year-old Scotch whiskey, that's so young. But I cannot stress enough to not judge a whiskey based off of its age. I have had so many whiskeys under 10 years old that have totally just blown me away. And so, when you look at this kind of on paper, so to speak, you're like, okay, an 8-year Speyside, and it's in 2 different types of casks. So 5 years in a bourbon hogshead, ex-bourbon hogshead, and then the remaining time in a second fill, heavy toast, medium char hogshead. And if you're not familiar with what exactly a hogshead is, it has nothing to do with Harry Potter, but it essentially, how I like to think of a hogshead is kind of like a Frankenstein cask. And typically, your standard bourbon barrels right at about 200 liters. A hogshead's a little bit bigger at about 250 liters. And so it is made up of bourbon staves with new heads. And I kind of just like to think of it as a Frankenstein cask because are they all bourbon barrels from the same place, from the same barrel? They all kind of had different lives. And I just kind of like to think of it as a Frankenstein cask. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into this. Again.
Well, and real quick too, just because you did address it, if there was anybody new that was tuning in, if you're looking at this and you're new, 105.40, the 105 means that's the 105th distillery that we've bought whiskey from, and this is the 40th cask that we've bought from that distillery as well. So.
I mean, this is like the nose on this is so beautiful. If you were to just nose this blind, completely blind, would you think that this was 8 years old?
Oh, absolutely not. It's just jumping out of the rest. But it burned my nostril. I got a little bit too close. It is. That high ABV is jumping out with it.
But it's like nutty and like butterscotchy and please, we would love to know what you all are getting on the nose and palate. So please throw your notes so we can throw them up on the screen because, beautiful thing about whiskey is it's subjective, right? So Scott and I could get very different things. We have very different palates. We've been exposed to different things growing up in our lives. And so we would love to know what you all are getting on both the nose and the palate. And I would love to throw those notes up so everybody can see them because it's always so interesting to all be tasting and, getting into the same whiskey and having everybody has a different experience with it. So
I'll tell you one trick I've learned too with really high ABV whiskeys, is just blow a little tuft of air into the glass and let it kind of bring the aromas out to you.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot on all of my whiskeys, actually.
Yeah. This one makes it a lot sweeter. I like your butterscotch, though. Heavy butterscotch.
And like roasted yams. There's like a yammy thing happening in here. It's very rich, like rich.
I like apples and burnt, or let's say toasted pears.
Yes.
Kind of I'm
with you on that. There's a lot of orchard, like toasted, hearty kind of orchard fruit on this.
I see Brent DeVries is tuning in. I haven't seen him before, and he says first timer here. So Jason Jones is getting rich butterscotch.
Oh yeah, throw it up.
Quick, but I think rich butterscotch, slight pine sol.
Ooh, yeah. Good note.
Yeah. Toasted marshmallows.
Oh man, I love that note.
A peppery oak.
Now I can't like get past that note. It's like in my head.
Which one?
The pine sol note.
Oh, pine sol.
But there is like a piney kind of like foresty, like wooded, I guess it would be more like wooded note to this. Get a little paper toner. That's what Kim says.
Morona says first timer here too.
Welcome. I love these I love these notes. I love when people get just like off the wall kind of things. Like I remember when I was first getting into whiskey, and I'm sure a lot of people have had this experience where you would hear people talk about whiskey and like the things that they would say would like repulse you. Like, why would you drink that? You know, like,
yeah.
Look at like the heavily peated whiskeys. It's like, you know, tar and like Band-Aids. And you're like, what is wrong with you? Like
iodine, you know, medicinal, antiseptic, glue.
Right. And then like now you get those things and you're like, yes.
Andrea is asking, why would the TTB reject the UK name, the Sweet Kiss of Leather Splinters? I wouldn't find leather nor splinters to be a food. Yeah. I don't know.
You know,
good question.
I've seen some things get past the TTB that, you know, maybe they were having a good day. Maybe the things that don't get past, they're not having a so great day. I'm not really sure how that all works.
Yeah. We're not in on that end of it, but the Whiskey Franco says this one opened up for me right after the top of the SMWS logo, meaning once the bottle got down in the area, once you drank it down.
Oh yeah, mine's like right at the top here.
Then the toasted notes, wintergreen and Werther's original notes started to really pop.
Wintergreen, yes.
Yeah.
So this is like piney wintergreen, like forest, woody kind of notes. These are great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the pine sol and the butterscotch.
Ooh. Somebody's just gonna see this video on YouTube later, like I don't know, in 100 years if YouTube's still around, and they're just gonna hear us talking about drinking pine sol. They're like, what were these people doing?
Nah, they'll still be drinking whiskey then.
Yeah. Well, cheers to that.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers, everybody. Go in for a little sip.
That's a big whiskey.
Yeah.
That is a big whiskey.
And no way, like we started with, no way. It doesn't nose like it's 8 years old. And it doesn't taste like it's 8 years old.
Nope.
This tastes like at least like a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old. A lot of oak, a lot of cask influence here. But did you talk about, I don't know if I caught it or not, the HTMC. Did you talk about what that is?
I have not.
Okay.
Add water to this.
So this one, and we put that on the labels as well for everybody that's new. We try to be as transparent as we can on the labels. You'll see how old it is, the ABV, the region. And then right down here, this one is a double cask maturation. So we list the initial cask and then the secondary cask. First cask on this one was an ex-bourbon hogshead. And then the second cask is a second fill HTMC, which is heavily toasted, medium charred hogshead. So they've taken a hogshead, retoasted it, recharred it, usually scraped it, toasted it, recharred it. It relivens the wood up, brings out a lot of toasted oak notes. That's all over on this one. Very nice. At 66% ABV is just a wallop on the palate.
It is really toasty and really like you really get a lot of cask influence on this, which is great. Second fill. There's a lot happening in this whiskey. I actually did some with water and some neat because I want to nose and taste side by side. And a lot of times,
good idea.
One whiskey,
I like that.
4 of these left that I haven't broken. So I'm taking advantage and gonna do a little side by side.
And we didn't even get our 2 free glasses when we ordered 3 bottles. They left us out this time.
I don't even know who to call and complain to about that.
We've had a few members. The warehouse simply just forgot to put them in. If you ordered 3 bottles during the promotion and you didn't get your glasses, the warehouse has missed a couple of shipments. So if that happened to you, don't be afraid to call in or email and ask where your glasses are at. We'll check and make sure that you ordered the 3 bottles. But yeah, last time we did the promotion with my outturn, bottles that arrived, I had some free glasses in there too, which is good because occasionally they do get broke.
I break them all the time.
I'm going to take one here.
So I put a good amount of water in this one, more so than usually I just use the dropper. And like when Ben puts water in his whiskey, he always does this and he like pours it in. I did it the Ben way today and I got a good amount of water in there. And like even just nosing them, kind of like with water, it's just a little softer. Like the edges are a little softer. But as far as like aroma goes, I'm still getting the same aromas just with water. It's just a little softer on the nose. But we'll see how it goes with tasting.
Jason Jones had yellow jellies with sugar coating.
Ooh.
GCAP says this one's a bit of a bully. Yeah, that 66.2% just it's a rocker. Morona sounds delicious. How many bottles are left? It's either sold out or there's only one left. I'm not sure now.
Yeah, I think there may be one left of this. So you'd have to give us a call and we can take a look and see if we have it.
I'm looking right now. Oh, there's 2. There's 2 in stock. Go order it.
I think I like it more without water on the nose.
I just stuck my nose right in the glass on this.
I know.
Gosh darn. It gets a little on the nose with water. It's a little bit more herbal, a little bit more earthy, a little bit more wet muddish.
I could see that.
Clay.
Yeah, I was going to say it kind of smells like my dog because she's been in the hose and we have red clay here.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's a kind of weird note of that.
The nose on it neat just as burns some nose hairs.
Well, you don't have to get your nose hair trimmer out. You just smell this whiskey.
Robbie Robson says you get your kicks with 66.
Definitely some kicks. In the mouth.
Martin Fielder, full of flavor, great mouthfeel, caramel from that second cask. Yep. Andrew Hamaker, thick, viscous, and warming for sure.
I don't say this often, but I think I like this with water.
I don't know if I've ever heard you say that.
Like I said, another time in my life, but this is really nice with water. Like I almost think it makes the palate more silky. Like it's a more silky palate with a little bit of water. Like I feel like when I have it neat, it just like kind of stays right in the center of my palate, where with a little bit of water, it kind of creeps into like the sides of my palate. And I really like that experience. And so I don't think it messes too much with the flavor of the whiskey. But I really just like the delivery with a little bit of water.
Yeah, so that's my first sip with water. It definitely tones down the bite. To me, a little bit more brown sugars showing. Yeah. Sweet. Multicasting is asking, are there any brand new distilleries you're working with for releases this year? We can't divulge that kind of information. Multicasting? Are you crazy? We get fired.
But yeah, yes.
I'd get fired. Jenna wouldn't.
Not. What do you mean? We're a package deal, man. I'm trying to think. I mean, I know that there are some things in the works, but I just don't know when those will.
Kim has to go. See you later, Kim. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, that is interesting. That is there is quite a bit of difference here with from neat to water added. Both good. And I will tell you too. So I know you hosted Tampa. Was it Tampa you were in February or Orlando? Orlando.
Yeah.
And then I was out in LA, and this was probably the favorite bottle of the night. And I think even more people ordered this one at the tasting that night, from the lineup, just because of how the mouthfeel on this one really comes across.
Yeah, this was very well received in Orlando. And I love, when we do these in-person tastings, if you've never been able to, join us for an in-person Outturn preview tasting, we taste everything blind first. So we know, but nobody knows what it is they're drinking, until after you've tasted it. And then we kind of, dive in and say, this is what it is. This is how old it is. But it was really fun for this particular whiskey to ask people, well, how old do you think this is? Do you think it's between, 8 and 10, 12 and 15, 16 to 20, over 20. And a lot of people guess that this was an older whiskey. And when you tell people it's 8 years old, it's like, I feel like that's really such a great kind of moment to really show what it is we do here at the Society, where we really just focus on, is it a great whiskey? Okay, great. Then all of that other information, where it's from, how old it is, all of that stuff can kind of come secondary. We just kind of focus on, is it great? Okay, then let's get it bottled and let's enjoy it.
With water, I'm almost getting like a chocolate coconut too now, or a chocolate coconut wafer type meringue, maybe coconut chocolate pie. I'm gonna put a second round of water on it.
I just went back to nose it, the one that has water in it, and it is evolving. There is a lot just kind of emerging out of this glass. Mount. Yes.
Big Dog's asking, when's the next virtual Drams, and how will we know what bottle is involved? So of course we will put it out, but Jenna will get to pick it with the Outturn next week.
Yes. So I will be hosting the Outturn preview tasting in Tampa on Sunday, and I'm flying in and flying out, and we'll be hosting the virtual one here on YouTube with a guest. And we will be tasting through a selection of those whiskeys, and we will leave it to you all to decide what that bottle should be. And so we'll be sure to announce it and get all of that information out there. So and that will be our next virtual Drams bottle. And I believe the next virtual Drams session is going to be at the end of March.
Yeah.
I want to say
the last week. I think we're going to try to schedule them, for that last week of each month anyway, just to give people time to order it, get the word out and whatnot.
Yeah. So that last Tuesday or Wednesday of the month is when we will be hosting these, and we'll be sure to get all that information out on exactly what the bottle is. And that way you can join in.
Andrew Hamaker says, with water, this is pineapple tropical upside down cake without the cake.
Ooh.
Miss Pickled. Haven't seen Miss Pickled tune in before. Says Mounds, like the Mounds bar, like the coconut chocolate covered Mounds bar. Yep. Oops. This one first. Martin Fielder. I've not had this distillery before, but it's coming off like a Kriegelike to me. Is that typical of this distillery? I don't know if I have enough experience with this one, but I don't think so.
So for me, this particular distillery, I've always gotten a very and it's so funny. We did the very first time I ever had this distillery in single cask form. We we were doing, it was like a team exercise, and we were tasting some samples that had come over from the UK, and it was the first time I'd ever tasted it. And I just remember getting this like very distinct, like Vaseline kind of note on it. It was like very ointmenty, like the mouthfeel was just so like viscous and thick. And I've always kind of found that in every other, 105 that I've ever had. There is just this like very like thick, ointmenty kind of viscosity to this whiskey.
I think it's here on this one too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This has a fantastic mouthfeel to it. And yeah, I think, yeah, spot on.
Jason Jones says macadamia nut cookies. He'd also said yes, coconut and pineapple.
I got like a little whiff of like baby wipes. I don't think I've ever said that about a whiskey, but there was just like a little baby wipey thing happening on the nose.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to agree with you too. I really think water is helping this one at 66.2%. It's just so much of a punch on the palate. It's kind of really hard to discern those notes, but with water, it's really kind of opening up. And a lot of this coconut, this pineapple, these cookies, wafers, brown sugars, caramels, all these different notes are really starting to expand on the palate now.
And I think that like this is one of those whiskeys that you could really kind of like shock people with, like your friends or people who drink whiskey, they want to come and they're like, give me something cool, or like, something that will really wow me. And I think that this is a great whiskey for that one, because you can let them taste it blind first. And then you can say, yeah, this is an 8-year-old Scotch whiskey. I think it's definitely one of those kind of whiskeys. So will this be available at the Tampa event? No, this was part of our February outturn earlier at the beginning of this month. And so we don't have, I believe we have 2 bottles of this left, but we won't have this in Tampa. But if you are going to be attending any of the in-person tastings throughout the country, we are actually going to have 7 different whiskeys to taste through for those tastings. So Los Angeles, San Diego, Seattle, Tampa, Chicago, New York City, and Washington, D.C. There are going to be 7 different whiskeys to taste, which will be a lot of fun.
I will be out doing the San Diego and LA tastings as well. So if you're in that area and you want to sign up, San Diego, I think they both have a couple seats left in them. Go to the website and go to the events page and click on the tastings, and separate link for LA and San Diego and Tampa.
Yep. I think Tampa, we have about 4 seats left. And I think LA, there's like 2 seats left, I think. So
I just added a 3rd round of water on this one, so I'm going to see what's going on.
Did you get the baby wipes?
No, I didn't, but Jason Jones did. And Andrew Hammaker can totally see the cocoa notes y'all are getting. Yeah.
So these are chocolate covered, coconut dusted baby wipes.
with Vaseline.
With Vaseline.
I'll throw in a little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of tobacco as well. Kind of more of a dry cigar leaf. But yeah, wow. Ooh, peppery, spicy. It's turning a little bit spicy now too, but still that sweetness is on there.
Yeah, a lot of cask influence on this.
I'm going to go back to the neat. I still have my neat pour over here too. I haven't been there for a few sips, so I'm going to go back here.
Well, yeah, it might taste different after kind of having it with a little bit of water. Did you?
I won't read it out loud. I'll let everybody else read it.
I think George Kaplan had a similar experience. That's kind of the crazy thing about whiskey. It's like sometimes you'll open these things and you're like, what the heck is actually in this bottle? Like, and then some air gets to it, and then you're like, oh, okay, yes, it is. Get that capsule insulin. Oh my gosh.
go back to the neat one here. It's been a little bit. That's delicious in its own right. But man, it is just a sock to the palate. Wow. Woo. Hot, concentrated notes. Everything's just crammed in there. Ooh, but good, ma'am.
It's so good.
And it's just coating back. I can just feel that cast strength just coating back, even slowly moving down into my throat now.
Yeah. This is one of those whiskeys too that, like, you know, if you want to have it at like full throttle, you know, it's amazing and it's delicious and you get so much flavor and you can really dig a lot of notes out of this whiskey, you know, but you can add a little bit of water, have a different experience. You can add a lot of water and still have a great experience. And yeah, the Whiskey Franco, that's a great point, you know, how spicy this is and in our juicy oak and vanilla flavor profile. And it doesn't lose any of its like zest or its bite with water. Yeah, that's a great point.
I think I've got 3 rounds of water on mine now. I went back to the one with the water. It's still so nice and warming now and just smoother.
Yeah.
But I mean, still nice ABV. All those flavors are still there. But it's a lot more, I would say, pleasant, you know, or
it's just different.
It's just different. Yeah. It's more comforting, I would say, with water.
Yeah. I think there's sometimes like, you know, and what's so crazy is that like you'll have whiskeys too. So like obviously you look at the ABV on this and you're like 66.2, like that's up there. This is going to be, you know, like it's going to just be a cannon, right? But then sometimes you have whiskeys that are in the mid 50s and you have it and you're like, holy cow, like what the heck? Like it's like that bite or that like power that you get in these higher ABV whiskeys sometimes kind of sleeps in those mid 50 ABVs. So, you know, then sometimes you'll have whiskeys at the 60+% and you're like, this is like butter, you know, like it's silky and buttery and it's not a cannon. So it's just really interesting. You never really know.
Fourth round of water I just put on it.
Fourth. Wow. I don't think we've ever done a tasting where you take 4 rounds of water.
I know.
There's a lot of firsts happening here tonight.
Jenna likes a whiskey with water. We've added 4 rounds of water.
4 rounds of water. See, that's crazy though, but that's the thing. That's like what is so cool about this is that you get all of these different experiences in one bottle. You know, like you can't do that with the whiskey at 40%. I mean, you could, but then technically you wouldn't be technically drinking whiskey at that point.
So when this thing at cast strength or neat, it's like when your buddy pulls up out in front in the big 4-wheel truck, jacked up, no mufflers, exhaust is rolling,
jacked
he's
up,
yelling at you, "Come on, get on up in here, Slim. Let's see what this thing will do." And then you add some water and it brings it down. This is your buddy that's pulling up in the limo. It's a Mercedes and it's a smooth ride. And he doesn't even yell at you. You just know it's time to go.
I gotta come visit you in Wichita. What's going on out there? And the Whiskey Franco asked, do you happen to know what the highest ABV bottle that SMWS has put out? I think the highest I've ever seen was actually a rye that was like 67.8. That may have been the highest that I've had in my collection. Do you think, can you think of anything that's been higher than that?
6. I mean, there's probably been a couple, but 2 middle fingers of scotch I remember was 66.3, I want to say.
That was
I don't remember. We've maybe had a couple in there. I don't remember anything that I know of breaking 70. Maybe something has.
Yeah, not that I've seen or can remember. I feel like I would remember that, but I don't. Oh, George Kaplan says 44.117. Happiness is a warm bung with 68.5%. Oh, George has a spreadsheet. Right, he could do the Google search. He could, you know, organize. He could sort by ABV, I'm sure. Yeah. 68.5.
Yep, 68. Good call, George.
I don't know if I don't have that whiskey.
That was a great one too.
Yeah, I don't have that one. Worm Cinders, 8 years, 67.9. Yeah, there's we did a rye whiskey from out of New York that was like 67 point something. That I remember. But geez.
Big Dog says that was poetry, Scott. I'm writing that down. Maybe that Mercedes is a 20-year-old Maybach. Yeah, could be.
You're
It's smooth.
a poet. You're a poet now.
It's a smooth ride.
We're gonna kick old Rabby Burns to the curb and just have Scott.
Yeah, neat. It's rocking. Add some water. Smooth sailing.
James says this distillery may be quiet in the whiskey world, but not in this bottle. Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what happens to this distillery over the next couple of years. Some exciting things happening over there. So really, really excited to see where this goes. And
just speaking of Martin Fielder said 44.117, the happiness is a warm bunghole looked sherry finished. Yeah, that one is. And yet just as soon as he said that right here, and I know this is a hogshead, but I'm getting all of a sudden now with a lot of water added to this, there are some dark red fruits in there now that are showing.
There's a little in there?
There's some sherry staves. Like you said, it's a hogshead can be a Frankenstein thing where they take a lot of staves, rebuild a hogshead. I don't know. I'm not saying it is, but I'm just saying all of a sudden it was almost like there was a little bit of some raspberries and some berries, darker fruits that were all of a sudden showing with water.
I could see that.
Somebody back me up here. Come on.
Well, Ryan says that he is stuck at work at the moment, but they're going to take some of this bottle on their whitewater rafting trip on the Salt River in Arizona this weekend. Well, it will keep you warm. James says, this is very powerful. This is a truck. And Jason Jones says, more water gets me bubblegum on the nose.
Wow.
Yeah, this is.
Now with 4 rounds of water, I'm getting so much more red, darker fruits and stuff on this now too.
Interesting.
I don't think it's just because it's on my brain now, but it's actually.
So if somebody had this whiskey, put 4 rounds of water in it, and then you tasted it, would you think that you would maybe think that there was some sherry things happening?
I wouldn't have said that before all that water and bringing it down, but it's revealing itself now a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Before it was so strong and it was so potent, all that spice and that oak and the chocolates and fudges and toasted notes. And then it kind of went tropical a little bit. And then it's now with the 4th round, it's really, whew.
Robbie Robson says that maybe it was aged at Hogwarts instead of in a hogshead. Magically changes its flavor each time you add water. I mean, I like that. Isn't the hogshead the bar or like the pub in Harry Potter? I'm pretty sure it's called the Hogshead.
Is it really?
Yep.
Could be.
I think it is.
All the kids hanging out at the bar.
It's like the Bertie Bott's ever changing beans, but in whiskey.
Andrew Hamaker says 3rd round of water, changed cocoa to milk chocolate coated coconut while laying in a grassy field. Yep.
Ooh. I only have a very tiny amount left with water. But I don't know. I like
It's
the
kind of fun when this happens, when you actually when you sit down and because we're at 42 minutes. Of course, it took us a few minutes to get going, but when you sit down with a whiskey like this and you taste it and eat, and you're nosing it, and you're spending some time with it, and you're adding a drop of water, and then you're adding another drop, and it's really when stuff can start to show itself.
And I think that's the fun of it. Like, this is my favorite thing to do. Like, sit down with friends, which is what we're doing tonight, taste through a whiskey and just really dive into it. Really take your time with it. And, you know, that's what I love about these casks. It really just kind of tells you to, like, let's hit the pause button. Let's sit, let's relax, and let's, like, really try to enjoy this moment and not rush it. And I just love that. And I think this is a great whiskey for doing exactly just this.
Yeah, very nice. Jason Jones points out the town is called Hogsmeade.
Hogsmeade.
Martin Fielder, I have to say this is a recent fave SMWS of mine. It's excellent for my palate. Yeah, I can see so. I can see why.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those kind of sleeper whiskeys. I think that had we not tasted this in the outturn, you know, I don't know, maybe it would still be sitting and people wouldn't really have the opportunity to really know all of the magic inside of this bottle.
Yeah.
So super cool.
Martin Fielder, some JO and V, juicy oak and vanillas, can be one dimensional. Yeah, usually I've had some where you nose them or you palate them. It's just that it's an obvious oak, you know, and vanilla.
Scott, because it's not a dirt if.
Yeah. This one, this one could almost be spicy and sweet.
It could be. I agree. Yeah. I think this is like one of those that kind of blurs the lines of like profiles for sure. I agree. Yep. There's a lot of spice on this.
Big dog, y'all are showing us how it's done. 'Tis true.
Someone's got to do it.
Jason Jones, have to say I'm not getting vanilla. I don't think it's the obvious, that really bright vanilla that we get a lot of times with our juicy oak and vanillas. There is a nice kind of more of a burnt or a toasted vanilla in there with it.
Maybe like a bourbon vanilla, you know, like how you can get like the bourbon, like the bourbon, I don't know, barrel aged vanilla or whatever they do.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of that.
Nobody backed me up on the sherry notes. I must be on my own on that one.
Yeah, I really like this neat on the nose and palate with a good old chunk of water.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm shocked. So what's exciting is make sure that you all join us for the virtual, unless you're at an in-person tasting, of course, but join us for the next Outturn Preview tasting, which will be March 6th, where we'll be picking the next virtual. We, all of you who are going to be joining us, will be picking the next virtual Drams bottle.
Yeah. I like it. I appreciate everybody that did have the bottle tonight and tasted along with us. Definitely neat. Definitely fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to do more of this and kind of dig into some bottles that, you know, maybe on paper don't look too exciting, but once you get them in the glass, it's a ride. So really impressed with this one for sure.
Any interesting notes? Anybody didn't comment? Anybody get anything really different, really intriguing? I just went back to my neat one after drinking the one with water. Ooh, gosh darn.
Still.
It just makes me salivate back here. It's burning on both sides of the back of my tongue.
It's in there.
Wow. Whiskey Franco, this was fun. Hoping one day there's an in-person here in Colorado. We are looking.
We're working on expanding. We're a really small team. Scott and I are like half of it. So really small team, but we are working to expand into some other cities So hopefully we'll see that towards like the middle to, I guess, like the late summer, early fall is when we'll probably see those.
Just comes down to personnel, time, budget, all that stuff. So, and now with Zach left, it's just me and Jenna. So we're humming along, I would say.
We're like chickens with our heads cut off.
We're like that 4-wheel drive that pulls up in front of your house with the big tires on it and the exhaust pumping.
That's us. George Kaplan asked, can we read the bottle notes and or the full tasting notes to cap this off? Yes, I love that idea. I would love to read the full tasting notes on this. So let me get them pulled up and I will give the full tasting notes on this. All right, so the sweet kiss of complexity. The initial nose suggested heather honey, dried flowers, hibiscus tea, malt loaf, and natural licorice. We also got winter herbs, bouillon stock, candied hazelnuts, and treacle on brown bread. A wonderful sense of richness and texture. With water, we found rapeseed oil, turmeric, cherry-scented nail polish, and freeze-dried raspberry. There's your raspberry, Scott.
Yeah.
A wee pouch of menthol tobacco left lying about somewhere in the background. The arrival in the mouth was warm and rich with spices. Also, thick notes of cod liver oil, waxes, black tea, miso paste, wintergreen, whiskey Franco, and lemon cough drops. Reduction brought barley sugars, sweet milk stout, Caledonian ice cream, hot mash water, wild strawberry, and mint tea. Extremely satisfying. There they are.
Yeah, we pulled out quite a few. Now, I mean, that was a lot of tasting notes, but we pulled out quite a few of those.
Yeah, we did actually. I hadn't actually read the full tasting notes, and I don't know if I think when we did the outcome preview tasting, we did. So yeah, super, super exciting. If we can't get this, we have another recommendation.
Let's see what we have.
Yeah. You pick one and I'll pick one.
Let me pull up or see what we've got in stock. This one's really unique. And like I say, this one's in the juicy oak and vanilla. We kind of touched on that a little bit. This is almost spicy and sweet. I mean, there's a lot of that peppery spice going on with this one and oak. Well, there was still 2 bottles of this one. I forget who was asking that because I'm back to the website now. There was still 2 bottles of this one available.
We do have cask 100.35, which was 7 years in a bourbon hogshead and then went into a refill toasted French oak barrique. I've not tasted that one, but it sounds.
Which one? What was the name of it?
A roller coaster.
Oh yeah, I've got that one. Let's see. I just saw that one earlier. I was looking somewhere.
Do you have a review of it on the website?
I'm not sure.
You do.
Oh, there you go.
So cask 100.35, Scott has a review of it up on the website.
Oh, there it is.
That might be a good one. And yeah, I think this definitely leans more spicy and sweet.
Let's see. Refresh. Oh, nobody's bought them yet. They're still in stock, so you can still get 105.40. This one from tonight. Yep.
Nice.
Still there. And then what? 100.35. How many of that one?
I think we have like 22.
And that's 60.6% on it. Yeah, refill.
And Jason Jones made mention about weekend tastings. I know typically in DC, I don't know where you are, Jason, but typically in DC and down in Florida, I don't know if you're in or near those places, but we do typically do weekend events on those 2 cities for sure. And then Scott's doing a weekend Sunday event in San Diego. So we try to do Sunday, Monday events as often as we can. So depending on where you are, that's where or when, I guess, we'll be hosting those tastings.
Mm-hmm.
And then George Kaplan asked, any new U.S. exclusive cask? That's all I get. That's what I'm going to say.
Robbie Robson says, I'd love one of those bottles, but they're not on the website. Okay. They could be in our.
Yeah, they may have come down off the website.
Yeah, it would so be in last drops, which is getting ready to drop.
Yes, we will have last drops tomorrow. I don't know if that one is on there. Oh, it is. Yep, there's 2 of them. The last 2 are going to be on our last drops tomorrow. And if you're not familiar with what last drops is, it is a list of kind of random whiskeys that we either find in the warehouse or we have 1 or 2 left of. And we put a list together and we email it out to you at 1:00 Eastern time. And then you have to give us a call in order to place those orders because they are not on the website. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah. So I guess before we go, I do want to let you all know that Scott and I, you're going to be seeing a lot of us. I hope that's okay. We will actually be back on Thursday night, Scott and myself. Right? Thursday night with something very exciting. It's very exciting. So come and join us at 8:00 Eastern time on Thursday. And then I'll be back on Monday with the outdoor preview tasting for March, which is very exciting as well. So we have a lot of really exciting things coming in the next couple of days. So make sure you're watching your inbox and make sure you're subscribed here so you get the notifications that we go live, where we're going to be sharing a lot of this information. And we're excited to share it with you all. So stay tuned.
That's right. And watch for next month's. Tune in next month, get your own bottle. Join us for the virtual tasting again. And as we say on the back of each bottle.
Take it away, Scotty.
Do what? Yeah.
Take it away.
Society whiskeys are not for swigging, glugging, or knocking back. Please drink responsibly.
Cheers.
Cheers.